Thank you so much. We'll reach.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out in this beautiful weather we have here in Bexar County today. Wow, I'll start with that. You guys sure have showered us with appreciation. We want to thank all the departments and schools for just really showing your appreciation this week. We appreciate you guys, tenfold over, but thank you so much for showering us with these blessings tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Nice are.
And may I say something? Being a board member myself, I understand your role, and a lot of people really don't understand. They think they know what it's like to be a board member, but the problem is, I appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate this past 3 months and how you have worked diligently doing some things you need to do. You've done some things as a group that they don't know about. I see. And I just want to tell you, I know I told you on a weekly update last week, but I want to tell you every chance I get, I really enjoy working with you, and I'm very proud of you and the things that you are doing right now for our school system. And it's getting better and better, and I'm telling you from a superintendent and from another board member, I appreciate you. And these things are very nice, and I'm going to tell you, I just appreciate your work ethic and your love, and I hear that and I see that in what you do. And we've been meeting quite a bit trying to find a superintendent, so we almost like family. So I just tell you from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being the board members that you are. I love you just like you are. I'd love to stay if I were younger, but I'm just
Well, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
We're thankful and love that you're here with us to help us kind of guide us through these next steps. So we're going to go ahead and go over next week's agenda. Mr. Kane will have our prayer, and then the Winder High School JROTC cadets will present the colors. We'll approve quite a few minutes from our last few meetings and the agenda, and then I believe Ms. Stevens, Mr. Bailey, and Ms. Kelly are going out this week. Awesome. And then Ms. Stevens will have us our report for the Clean and Safe Schools. We'll have some fun superintendent recognitions, and then we may or may not have a few requests to appear before the board. So at this time, let's go ahead and jump into superintendent's department reports. We'll start off with Dr. Bowen with the support services report.
nothing at this time.
All righty. Thank you, sir. Next, I'd like to invite up Ms. Houston for the business services report.
Good evening. Tonight we just have our normal invoices paid between $10,000 and $74,999. And our first one,
It's the weather. This is like my house.
Glitches today.
This is probably my fault. Every time I get around the computer, they go crazy.
okay, we can wait.
Sorry.
Oh dear.
And we can flip-flop if we need to. Does any of the superintendent department heads have anything that's not technology related? I know, Joe, you'll have pictures. Dr. Moten, you got a PowerPoint? Okay. I tried. Jennifer, you just get to stand up there awkwardly until we're...
Wish I had a personality so I could tell y'all jokes, but.
That was
Listening to us, not happy with what we're saying, or people are happy, just facial expressions.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Hey, listen, that's
I'm not
how.
allowed to say that in a public meeting. Almost there.
While we're waiting, I'll give a quick update on the superintendent search. We had 26 total applicants for the position. We narrowed it down to 12 that we invited for an interview, and we have made it through 8 of the 12. We'll have the last 4 tomorrow. We have had 8 amazing interviews. We're excited to see what tomorrow brings. And all I can say is we are blessed because a lot of talent has shown interest in this job. So there are some exciting things
Absolutely.
ahead for Barrow County. All righty, so back to those invoices.
All right. Rise Vision, I paid out of the general fund, $19,980, and that's for district digital signage license. Stage Right Corporation, out of Capital Projects, $21,390, and this is for 12 set of risers for County Line, Austin Road Elementary, and Bethlehem Elementary School. Infinite Campus, paid out of Capital Projects. Nope, that's going to be paid out of the general fund for $20,369, and that's for online registration. Hegarty Phonomics, isn't that funny that I can't even say the word phonomics and like you need phonics to say it? Paid out of consolidated fund, $17,980, and that's for decodables for Statham Elementary School. Tyler Technologies, paid out of Capital Project, nope, that's wrong too. That's just supposed to be general fund, $13,725. That's for Munis training and conference registration. You can see it's budget season because I'm getting like things wrong on here. And that's at the district level. Scholastic, paid out of L4GA for $18,909. And that's for Scholastic Junior subscription for 3 years for Westside Middle School. Scholastic paid out of L4GA for $22,250. And that's for Scholastic Scope subscription for 3 years for Westside Middle School. B&H Photo Video paid out of Capital Projects for $14,085 for Lenovo laptops, and that's for Bassett 2. And then the last one, Lexia Voyager, paid out of L4GA for $17,750 for letters, professional learning, and supplies for Statham Elementary School. And then the ones below that have all been board approved, so I won't go through those individually. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alrighty, next, I'd like to welcome up Mr. Perno for the System Operations Report.
Good evening. We'll just touch on our current projects here briefly. Some photos. There's Bassett 2, well underway with our finishes in there. Flooring, paint, ceilings, just rolling right along there. The weather's not affecting us there. We're working inside. Bassett 3, the Performing Arts Center, the big takeaway there is that we got the first section of slab poured last week. And if you drive by there, there's a lot of steel that has already gone up. So the picture there with the blue in the back, that's the concrete getting pumped onto that slab there. So steel is beginning to go up. That's a great sign there. Moving along. And then the last one is the park at CFIT. And highlights there, the playground surfacing and the pieces themselves are in place and complete. And so the big task now will be getting the irrigation work complete throughout the site and the final grassing. And that's going to take us a minute. There's quite a bit to do there, but the irrigation work should start this week and then grassing next month. That's it. Thank you.
Looks great. Thank you so much. Alrighty, next we'll have Dr. Moten with the Teaching and Learning Report.
Good evening. The Teaching and Learning team has been busy with the Georgia Early Literacy Act and the actions and timelines and selections that accompany that legislation. And so I'm fortunate to have a team of experts who are going to join me this evening to talk about where the team is in this work, and not in the order that they're approaching, but we have Dr. Beth McMichael. She's our K-5 Literacy Content Specialist. Robin Allen is an instructional coach at Bramlett. Melissa Kurtz is an instructional coach at Winder. Tony Neff is a teacher at Austin Road. Sabrina Masters is a teacher at Holstenbeck. Emily Dixon is a teacher at Statham. Stephanie Martin is an assistant principal at Bethlehem. And so on this first slide here, you can see what the next slide, you can see the actual early literacy timeline. It is House Bill 538, which was introduced in February of 2023. It was signed into law shortly thereafter on April 13th, 2023. Several states have passed similar legislation for early literacy, and the focus is on students reaching proficiency in reading at age 8. And we know what the outcome and the predictors are for students who are not on grade level in early elementary school, and then those are predictors for high school. And we want to make sure that our students are on grade level by 3rd grade and that they are able to experience academic success thereafter. So the rest of our presentation includes goals, instructional materials, timelines for those requirements, universal screening, and staff training. So I welcome our next presenter to the podium.
Thank you. We're actually all really excited about the literacy law. We think it's going to provide our students with a lot of support, a lot of resources. A lot of things in the literacy law were things that we were already doing, and I think you're going to hear that throughout the presentation. It's just now we can refine, enhance, and we have the support of the state. So we actually think this is positive legislation. If you look at the screen, those were all the provisions of the law. So there's a lot of things that have to be accomplished, and as you can see, the literacy law came up kind of suddenly, it was passed quickly, and we haven't had a whole lot of time to prepare. So those highlighted items are the things we've really been working on this year, actually started last year as soon as the law passed. But they're things that we're working on this year so we can be prepared when the law takes effect next year. So some of the provisions of the law are to establish a uniform standard for measuring literacy. So that's something that's going to be coming from the State Department. Sorry, my eyes are bad. They're bad up close and they're bad far away. Ensuring that all students are using high quality instructional materials in grades K through 3. A lot of our presentation tonight is going to focus on our process for looking at instructional materials and choosing instructional materials. Ensuring that all K through 3 students are screened for reading difficulties multiple times each year. One of the goals of the law is actually to catch kids before they fall behind. The earlier we can provide an intensive intervention, the better the chances the student has of being successful in subsequent years. We've already been screening, and you'll hear about that, but that's one of the provisions of the law. One of the provisions of the law is that we're also going to be required to share those results with parents and with the State Department after each benchmark period. The law also requires schools to provide reading intervention plans for students with significant reading deficiencies. It provides formative reading assessments for students in 1st and 2nd grades. We're still waiting on those to come from the state. And one of the things we've been working on this year is ensuring that K through 3 teachers receive training on the science of reading, structured literacy, and structured literacy practices, which is basically a new term for reading taught the way a lot of us were taught reading in school, where you learn phonics in a very systematic, sequential manner with nothing left to fall through the cracks. Everyone goes through that cumulative instruction in phonics. And finally, the state, this doesn't really apply to us too much, but the state is revising their certification requirements for new teachers entering the field. So the professional learning is for teachers who are already in the field, and then they're also changing those certification requirements for teachers who are coming to us. So in a nutshell, those are the provisions of the law, and now I'm going to let the rest of the team talk about some of the things we've been doing to prepare. So we'll start with instructional materials.
All right, so as Beth said, one of the provisions in the law is that districts provide or must use a K-3 comprehensive core curriculum material for grades K through 3. And the materials that are used need to come from the high quality instructional materials advisory list that was adopted by the state board. And the superintendent must certify that our district is using high-quality instructional materials in December of this year, so in December 2024. And what does a comprehensive core curriculum mean? Well, it's a curriculum that is going to provide materials for teaching all of our Georgia ELA standards. It is going to encompass all 5 pillars of reading as defined in the report of the National Reading Panel, which is phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. And the set of materials constitutes the principal source of study for a state-funded course. And if you look at the graphic there, that's showing all 5 pillars plus what we could commonly have now in Bear County Schools. So for the phonological awareness piece, we just adopted the Hegarty phonemic awareness curriculum for pre-K, kindergarten, and first grade. That went into effect like in November. We've been using Benchmark Workshop for the phonological awareness piece, the phonics piece, and the fluency piece. And then we have the units of study, which does hit on some various reading habits and skills. But as you can see, we do not have a comprehensive program. We have pieces that we make work, but it is not a comprehensive core curriculum. Okay, Melissa?
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the timeline that we've been following throughout this curriculum adoption process. So in November of 2023, there were 8 comprehensive core programs that were approved by the state BOE, and they were vetted using a rubric that was developed by the state. The state also granted permission for districts to create their own programs by bundling multiple supplemental programs. Districts were responsible for vetting those programs with the state rubric. And they also required that the superintendent certify that the materials meet the requirements of the law. By February of 2024, we needed more comprehensive core programs were added to the state list of the high-quality instructional materials. So in November of 2023, our elementary school principals chose the 4 highest rated programs from the state list for our ELA materials adoption committee to review. And then they added 2 more programs when the second list was released in February. So as you can see from that graphic there, the core programs were listed on the left, and then all of the criteria that were on the state rubric are listed across the top. And all of the programs that were strongly recommended were those programs that we reviewed. And those programs were Benchmark Advance, Benchmark Workshop, which included reading, writing, and phonics. We've currently been using the phonics portion of Benchmark, but not reading and writing. EL Education, HMH Into Reading, and Savvis MyView, and then and Wonders. Savvis and Wonders were the 2 that were added in February. So some principals also requested that we take up the state and consider a bundled option. And so we got together, the school leaders submitted supplemental programs to be considered in the area of phonological awareness, phonics, and fluency. The programs that we reviewed were Wilson Foundations and 95 Core Phonics. In the area of vocabulary, reading comprehension, writing, and grammar standards, we looked at Benchmark Reading and Writing Workshop and Wit and Wisdom. So there was a small group of administrators, instructional coaches, and teachers who came together to review these programs using the state rubric, and we selected the highlighted programs as the bundled option for teachers to consider. So that bundled option consisted of 95 Core Phonics and Benchmark Reading and Writing Workshop. So then in January through March, we've been going through all of these programs. Each school submitted the names of up to 4 teachers to form an ELA Materials Adoption Committee. This 31-member team was responsible for participating in vendor presentations, reviewing the curriculum materials, sharing the information at their schools, collecting feedback from staff members, and then ultimately recommending 2 programs for adoption.
What you did as committee member?
So the committee members that were selected from each school really consisted of members across each grade band. So that way, when we were able to go back to our schools, we were able to get with those who are in grades close to us to be able to communicate what we were learning from the vendors, what we were seeing in the curriculums, and also share out the curriculums with them so they could give us their feedback as well. We were able to see digital access to all the curriculums, get around and play in it, learn what was easiest to use, and teach several of the lessons at my school also. And we also were getting the vendors shipped out materials. Wonder shipped out to each school right at the end, so we got a chance to get that in our hands too. We also saw we were able to invite out our grade levels to the open houses so they could get to see each of the materials, compare them, see the pros and cons of each, and then they got to see those samples for themselves. In total, 78 staff members attended those open houses.
So, Brandon, do you want to add anything to that? Because I know you were a member, you actually taught some of the lessons and attended those open houses.
Yes, so I'm at Holstenbeck, and we had a committee as well, and we made sure that every grade level kind of got a say. So if there wasn't a representative for that grade level, the instructional coach met with that grade level to get their feedback, to make sure that they knew how to look at the materials. The picture that had been up there on the last slide were actually Holstenbeck teachers that went to the open house. I taught lessons from each of the units, and I really felt like the ones from HMH were the best ones that I taught. I was really impressed, and I'm gonna be honest, when I went into it, I didn't think that was gonna be my top pick. But after teaching the lessons in my classroom with real students, those were great lessons.
All right, so on March 14th, on our teacher work day, we met as a group. All 10 elementary schools were represented at that. And 2 of the schools recommended the bundled option and HMH into reading as their top 2. And then 8 schools recommended HMH into reading and McGraw-Hill Wonders. And I do want you to note that HMH was in all 10 of the top 2 selections.
Last week on Thursday, our instructional council, which is made up of teachers and coaches and administrators across all 3 levels, elementary, middle, and secondary, went through this exact same program. We looked at all components, and we selected the Comprehensive Core Literacy Program, HMH, into reading. The vote was 13-2, I believe, overwhelming, and then we had some conversations on what were some of the thoughts about those 2 who did vote for the other option, Wonders, and then shared some of the thoughts that led the others to feel like HMH into reading was the best program for our district.
Before I move on to just kind of share our progress, that was the bulk of our presentation, so we'll speed it up now. Before I move on and share more information about the other things we've been doing this year, do you have any questions about the instructional materials piece?
We've been using Benchmark, I think someone said. Probably, I think I heard we've been had it for 5 years.
5.1, I think we adopted in 2019.
Okay, is that usually I'll call it the shelf life for one of these programs? After about 5 or 6 years, it's sort of, so we see this one moving on?
We do. And we think, it was actually one of the options. It was one of the highest rated choices on the state approved list. If you, Benchmark Phonics is one of those programs that you can buy pieces. You can buy the phonics piece. You can buy the reading piece. You can buy the writing piece. We only bought the phonics piece. If we had bought the reading and the writing, we would have already had a comprehensive core. So it was still a choice for our teachers, but I think they have felt like we've used this for 5 years. We're not seeing the results with it that we would like to see with it, so maybe it's time for a change. So I think that was probably why it was not more highly rated among teachers.
And one other question, I'll sometimes we feel like we get rushed into things. Do y'all feel like you've had enough time to vet all this and get through it? You understand what I'm saying?
I'm going to defer to them.
Okay, and I'm not talking about in-house, I'm talking about from outside. Sure. That somebody else is You
I
know,
feel like
they pass a law and then they tell you 8 months later, you gotta do this in a short amount of time. It just, I feel like when people, not y'all, but when people rush me about something, I feel like there's something sinister going on here.
I will also say that we already have HMH math, and so already having the HMH reading, it's a lot more user-friendly for the teachers. And so when we were looking at that, that is, a factor in that. We already have, even the student component is the same for the reading component as well.
And having the open houses and having those internal dialogues at schools really brought as many stakeholders into the conversation, and not just the coaches or the teacher committees.
And I think we have really passionate teachers, and some of the ones that are here that jumped in and used the sample lessons and actually taught from them, and so they really got a feel for the teacher materials, the student materials, and kind of how they all work together, and also the digital interfaces.
And I would say that the teachers are super excited about having something that's going to meet all of their needs versus them having to use a little bit of this and pull this. So they are super excited.
And we talked about that timeline, and while the law says it has to be in place in December, we feel like we had the time to make a good decision so that it could be implemented in August.
That's what I wanted to
And
hear.
not have to dive into something new and sort of familiar, because it is HMH in the reading, somewhere in the range of August to December.
And for someone, also comment, for someone who still struggles to read, I think we all know how important it is. Our reading scores aren't exactly where, our literacy scores aren't exactly where we want them to be, of course. So, well, thank y'all, appreciate it.
Yeah, I would have answered that differently, but I'm glad to hear what they had to say. As the person who's been kind of facilitating and trying to get the vendors in and juggle, I think it's been fast, yes, but I feel like our teachers were really invested in the process, the ones who were on the committee and teachers even who weren't on the committee. I've gotten emails, teachers have reached out. They are really anxious to get this comprehensive core program in their hands because it's going to make their lives easier. It truly will.
I have a question. The one that you said that you taught it to a group of students. I hear how teachers like it. How did the students receive it?
So I actually taught lessons from the benchmark reading and from the HMH reading, and they seemed kind of bored with the benchmark, but they were very engaged in the HMH lessons. And I gave the weekly assessment at the end, and I was surprised by the excellent answers that they gave for the constructive response where they wrote out their answers. Just in 1 week of teaching it, how much they gained from that lesson. Just teach it in 1 week, and they just caught on and answered it really well. I was really impressed with that.
So it seemed like the students were more receptive toward the HMH.
And it might be because they've done the math. And so
Might
maybe
be.
that's why.
Because that, to me, that's very important. I mean, it's great. We want the teachers to be comfortable. We want the students to, receive that and retain it.
So looking at all the materials, the HMH visuals that they have, the pictures that are in it, the literature that's in it, it's just very high quality. So it already engages them before they actually start the reading process. So they buy in more.
I have a question about accountability on this and tracking the improvement. How are we going to do that? Do we have a piece in place to do that?
We already really track a lot for our universal screening, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit in NAP. But the state's actually going to add to our accountability because now they will be tracking our data as well and sharing it across the state. So that's one piece. I mean, one thing we look at is we look at that qualitative data going into classrooms, seeing if the program's being used with fidelity. If it's not, figuring out what kind of PL do we need, or professional learning, what kind of resources do teachers need to help them teach this curriculum. So we kind of gather that qualitative data, but then we also look at our student data and look at our outcomes to determine, has this really been effective? Which is kind of what's making us take this departure away from benchmark. Even though it's a program teachers know and they're accustomed to using, the data is just not supporting that it's been the best option for our kids.
So we should be able to track pretty comprehensively the improvement that we see, right? Okay. Do we have a time frame as to when the board's going to be aware of that? Is it going to be at the end of the school year after we've done this for a year? Or is there a way you can come back to us mid-term and say, here's where we started, here's where we are now, this is the increase we've seen, which is over this amount of increase from previous years and that sort of thing. Because that's very helpful to us as a board when we talk with parents about students and where they are. And my other question is, I know this comes with a price tag, so how much is it going to cost us? And is the state picking up the tab for any of this?
What do you think about the state picking up the tab?
I think it's probably a no, even though it is a mandate. And I understand this is pretty expensive, but it would be well worth it if we see the results we think we'll get.
We're still talking and trying to get them to lower their price to get the best possible price. I feel like we're buying a used car. If you want to buy a car in the future, take me with you. I'm your girl, because we've been negotiating. They've already come down, I think, $1.8 million. We're now that they know that they're our final option, I think they're willing to negotiate a little bit more. So that's why we don't have a quote for you tonight. And that's why we aren't making the ask tonight. We're going to wait until the next work session, just because we want to make sure we're getting the lowest possible price to present to you.
Okay. The number I had heard on that was $2 million. So are we saying they're down to 1.8?
Are we down to one? I think we're in that ballpark. Maybe give or take a little. Probably more give a little.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to wrap it up because I want to be respectful of your time, but do want to fill you in on the other things that we've been doing to prepare for this law. So universal screening is another part of this law. Universal screening is just basically a screening assessment that's given to all kids in K through 3, just to see if they are at risk of not meeting end of grade level reading goals. If they are at risk, we intervene, whether they have a formal, whether they're in the RTI and have that formal intervention plan in place. We still want to be responsive to that data and make sure that we're giving kids what they need through small group instruction. So we've been doing this for a while. We use DIBELS. It's the Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy Skills. We've been using it on a platform called Amplify that lets us do it digitally, and then we can print nice reports. Our 2 L4GA funded schools use a different version of DIBELS on a different platform because that's what they're required to do with the grant. Both of those screeners that we're already using are on the state approved list. The state a couple months ago came out with a list for schools who were getting ready to purchase screeners, so they have an approved list, just like with the curriculum materials. However, most recently, they proposed a bill. I don't think it made it through, or it made it through with some provisions. In the fall of 2025, we may not be able to use the same screener. They came back and said in this new proposal that they wanted everyone across the state to use the same screener so they could compare results more easily across the state. They got some pushback to that and came back and said, you can use your screener that you had in place. You can use it next year, but in 2025, you're going to have to use a screener off the state list that we're going to narrow down to 5. So we're hoping that our screener that we've been using is on that list, but we'll just have to wait and see. So just a couple ways we use the data. This has been one of my tasks this year. I've gone out and met with every grade level team at every school, and we've analyzed this data. We use that screening data to identify students who need additional support. We use it to differentiate small group instruction, and we also use it for that outcomes piece that Ms. Stevens was referencing. We look at student growth and use that information to make adjustments to our instruction. So this is a piece that I feel like we've got under our belt. We've been doing this for a while, so I feel confident that we've got everything we need in place to continue with that. And the last piece is staff training. Staff training was a huge part of the grant. The state of Georgia has partnered with the Rollins Center at the Language and Literacy, the Rollins Center for Language and Literacy at the Atlanta Speech School. They are providing free web-based training for teachers across the state. So a lot of districts are now having their teachers complete this training. They're digital modules, and you can see the modules there on the screen. They'll be getting in-depth training on all of these topics, which we already have a lot of experts. We already have a lot of teachers who are well-trained in these aspects of teaching reading. But I think the push behind this is the state feels, or the legislature feels, that perhaps our colleges and universities have not been, they've been falling down the job when it comes to training teachers in how to teach reading, especially the foundational skills. So they want to make sure that we all have this consistent base knowledge of how kids learn to read. So our principals are trying really hard to protect teachers' time, not loading them down with a lot of extra professional learning activities, so they can focus on completing these modules, so they'll be prepared to teach kids how to read. And we also have teachers who on their own are participating in a lot of other educational opportunities. We have 30 teachers, instructional coaches, and administrators who have finished or are going through the dyslexia endorsement, so they can help kids who have been identified with characteristics of dyslexia. We also have some administrators, 13 administrators and 4 teachers, who are going through LETTERS training. LETTERS is kind of the gold standard in reading training. It's a 2-year program. They're doing that through RESA. Part of it is meetings at RESA, part of it they complete on their own. So we are trying to build capacity across the board with our leaders, with our coaches, with our teachers, with our parapros. We are all on board with, this is a collective effort. Teaching kids to read is going to take a village. Do you have any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, Ms. Beggs, do you have anything for us at this time?
Not at this time.
All righty. And Dr. Thompson, anything with the Strategic Information Services?
You have the February communications report posted, as well as the 140th day student count. We're holding steady at about 15,400 students, and both of those are available for your review.
Thank you, sir. All right, we will jump down into new business, and I would like to invite up Mr. St. Clair to talk about Dell Chromebook RFPs.
Thank you. As part of our regular process to replace aging technology, 2,000 Dell Chromebooks are sought to replace older Chromebooks in the district. An RFP was posted and 18 responses were received. Low bid respondent Dell met the terms of the RFP. They've done similar business with us before, and they are not adversely listed in the SAM.gov database. The financial impact is $792,040 from Splosh Technology Refresh Funds. The superintendent recommends authorizing the purchase of 2,000 Dell Chromebooks from low-cost respondent Dell of Round Rock, Texas, in the amount of $396.02 per device, for a total of $792,040.
Any questions? You need us to vote on that one tonight?
I'm asking you, yes, please. A lot of districts will be jumping on the bandwagon soon, and with spring break next week, I would like to get in front of the line.
Will do.
Thank you. Our current copier lease contract expires June of 2024, and a replacement 3-year contract is sought. Based on district stakeholder satisfaction survey, we polled the folks here in the district. Sharp copiers, our current brand, were chosen for the new contract. In addition, a one-time cost for print management services renewal, the paper-cut software that you currently use now to manage copies and getting reporting in who can print to what copiers and so forth. Renewing that was sought as part of this new contract. An RFP was posted and 2 vendors responded. The low-cost respondent, Standard Office Systems of Duluth, met the terms of the RFP. They've done similar business with the district before. They hold the current contract, and they are not adversely listed in the SAM.gov database. The financial impact is $277,657.92 per year, and a one-time $13,530.24 one-time cost for the paper-cut software from the general fund. The superintendent recommends awarding the contract for copier services to low bid respondent Standard Office Systems of Duluth, Georgia, at a total cost of $177,657.92 per year recurring, and a one-time cost of $13,530.24 for paper-cut print management services.
Any questions?
And that covers how many copies?
We have bumped it up to 22 million this time. Our previous contract was 20 million, and we are sitting right at 19.8 something million. And so we don't have a lot of headroom with the growth that we're adding Bassett to. We've bumped that now to 22 million.
That's a lot of copies.
That's a lot of copies.
Consent agenda? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All righty, next we're going to welcome up Mr. Ayers to talk about live view and repair budget.
The live view, just in short, that's the video systems we have on the bus. You guys don't see it, but we spend a lot of physical time pulling hard drives from buses. Administrators can back me up on that 100% when they have an issue or something we need to pull video for. This simply allows us to do it from a computer. We never have to physically pull a hard drive again. So y'all can applaud that later, but that's a good thing. Y'all know what kind of challenge that is. Anyway, superintendent recommends SPLOST funds for the purchase and installation of hardware to activate live view for bus camera systems. The amount from SPLOST is $175,251.52. General fund for annual fee amount, which is what we have to pay to keep that system going or to maintain the service, is $65,038 even. That's basically all it's going to do is each bus will be given a SIM card. And the hardware that's installed, it's basically going to have a cell phone number. So that's what allows the Wi-Fi aspect of it, where we can activate that thing. But in short, so on the summary, live view will allow the immediate viewing and downloading of bus footage anytime the bus is running and up to 3 hours. Up to 3 hours after the bus is parked. This will eliminate the lengthy process of physically pulling the hard drives from buses that are located across the district. Faster response time will enhance safety and communication for all stakeholders. So that's just a big deal. Basically, the 3 hour window, that thing has a setting on it. I can set it in my computer if we get a call or an email late at night or administrator reaches out to one of us up to 3 hours after a bus is parked, we can wake that thing up and download that video. I mean, it's huge with all the time we saved, and we're handling so many videos. The less we can handle those things physically and move them around, the better it is for everybody on that part. So, any questions about any of that?
Why are you having so many, go ahead.
How long is that annual fee price good for?
I mean, I'm not sure. That's what they've initially, it's year to year, so I'm assuming that'll probably stay stable for a while, but it's probably subjective to cell phone service and stuff like that. So I guess it'd be about as stable as a cell phone bill, I'm assuming, on that part.
What happens after the 3 hours?
You can't wake it up. You have to either wait till the bus is started back up and then go back into it. So usually after 3 hours, the bus is parked, we're all doing something else anyway. So nothing, you just wait till the bus is either started back up. But if it's, depending on, there's going to be probably a very few situations I can think of be extreme enough for us to jump right on that. But most of the time within 3 hours, I think we'll have everything pretty much, you know.
Students on the bus, I believe, anyway. I mean, the idea is there should be students on the bus after 3 hours of it being shut off.
So on average, how many times do you have to check those buses for incidents?
Do what now?
On average, how often do you have to check those videos for incidences?
How often do we have to check them?
Yeah, I mean, how many times does something occur where you have to actually?
Oh, we're pulling video daily. You think about situations where video could be a discipline issue, could be a complaint, could be a complaint on the driver. We don't get a lot of complaints on drivers. Most of it's got to do with the interaction of the children. It's those kind of things. Reports we get from the parent, administrators get a report, something like that. But we were pulling video daily, and here in March Madness, it's been more than average. But anyway, it has spikes and stuff. Sometimes it bellies out. We don't have a lot, but through the slow time of the year, it's be around December. But the rest of the time, it's pretty active.
Okay.
I'm having a hard time getting my head around this annual fee. We're going to buy this year for $175,000, and we're going to pay an annual fee of $65 to operate it.
Yes.
This year.
Yeah, and that goes from year to year. Every 12 months, that's what the fee would be for 12 months of service.
I'd feel better if we could tie them to this fee for 2 or 3 years.
Well, I mean, I can check with them. Say I don't assume the fee's going to change much, if any, from year to year. I don't see it. I don't see that really being that erratic on anything. It's not really based on, they're like fuel prices or anything like that. Like I said, it's a cell phone service is what it is. It's a SIM card. So I'm going to go on an assumption on that. I can get a little more info from the vendor if I need to.
Okay. We don't meet for 2 weeks. Is that right? I think before we put those on the consent agenda, give him time to do some research on this and see what they got to say from my vantage point.
Okay, any other questions?
And the fee is actually for maintenance, right?
Yeah, it's the same thing as, it's just a technology fee.
Right.
Same we do with anything else, we've got software, we pay, fees like that too. That's basically what we're paying for, is the actual Wi-Fi or the cell phone aspect of that service. It's not anything that.
Once you pay off your cell phone, you still have to pay to have the service, right? To use your cell phone, same process, right? You're
Pretty
paying,
much.
you pay
Pretty
the
much.
big
Buy a
number
phone
for the
or whatever,
physical.
then you pay the monthly service or whatever. We just happen to be paying it, as an annual fee.
Right.
And that's for the whole district, that,
Yes, that's up to
so that's why
200.
it's that price, okay.
I just hate for us to buy this and the fee be 65 this year and then all of a sudden, next year, Art, you bought this, if you're gonna use it, now it's gonna cost you that plus. I mean, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I can check, like I said, I don't have a concern with that, but I'll be happy to check and get you some info. I know some colleagues in other districts have had that for a few years. I can see how stable the price has been for them, so be happy to get you an answer on that.
Thank you.
I'll try to do it when I leave here, so get you some quick info on that. Any other questions? Okay. All right. I think next thing I got is repair. Is that right? This. Okay. I got to patch up some budgets. The repair's one thing that's hit us from inflation and things like that. We've stretched as much as we can on that. Superintendent recommends additional funds to add to the repair budget for transportation in the amount of $300,000 from general fund. Summary, due to an approximate increase of 55% for repairs and supplies over the past 3 years, the current budget amount will not be sufficient for the remainder of the 2024 school year. So basically just an inflation-based thing. We've done as much as we can without raising the budget or doing anything, but we're at a point we've got to finish out the school year and stuff because we're getting behind on a lot of service and things like that. So, any questions?
Consent?
Yeah, just tell me again how many miles we put on these buses every month, so I'll feel better about this.
Well, we're doing about 20,000 miles a day, so you can break it down. I can, you'd have to.
No, that'll
average
work.
out per
I can
bus.
do that.
Yeah, and I mean, it adds up pretty fast, so. Any questions? All right.
We're good?
All right, on the fuel budget, superintendent recommends additional funds for fuel budget in the amount of $300,000 from general fund. Summary, the additional bus schedule for the 2024 school year increased the daily miles for bus routes. This increase, along with fuel prices remaining at high levels, will fully deplete current budget amounts. And fuel's been stable, it's just been up. It's been stable, but it's been elevated, everybody knows that part. So, but just adding the bus schedule this year that we did, added those miles, and this is where it's caught up. It was hard to kind of project because we just didn't know until we actually got some data on how many miles we're running, what our fuel expenditures look like and everything. So that's where we're at with that.
So is this coming out of your regular budget, or is this coming out of the general fund or in our excess fund?
Says general fund on here.
So all of it's coming out of the general fund? Right, okay.
Yeah, that's what it says.
Consent? All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You're good. All right, I have sent you guys the 2024 legislative positions, and I believe we chose delegates, was it Ms. Kelly and Ms. Maddox as the alternate? Is that what we decided on? We'll get those sent in. Next week, we will request a motion for authorization for committees to meet, and at this time, we're going to go into executive session to discuss or deliberate upon the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action, or dismissal, or periodic evaluation or rating of a public officer or employee, or to interview applicants for the position of superintendent. Ricky?
Yes.
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 All righty, guys, we will go in the small room if you guys don't have to move, and we'll come back in a few minutes.
I like playing with toys. I like my teacher. I'm over the Newford Pre-K. Pre-K is out of this world.
Sims Academy is a career prep school available to all high school students in Barrow County. Daily, Sims is filled with students taking dual enrollment courses, industry-specific CTAE classes, and Sims offered high school classes like construction. Pending the student's schedule, they may spend all day at Sims or utilize the BCSS organized shuttles to or from their home schools.
Sims is also home to many of Barrow County School System's unique programs such as the Newcomer Academy, YES program, and STEP program.
Sims was the first school on the Innovation Campus before being joined by Lanier Technical College, Barrow Arts and Science Academy, and Austin Road Elementary School. It began with a mission that continues to evolve to ensure the success of BCSS students and our local community.
The YES program at Sims is a class for students with disabilities that are in their senior year of high school. The YES program is partnered with the Goodwill Northeast Georgia, Georgia Vocational Rehabilitation Agency, and High School High Tech, with the goal of helping seniors be better prepared for the independent employment after high school.
Goodwill staff works with participants of the Youth Job Training Program to set career goals and equip students with the necessary skills to enter the workforce. YES participants can earn high school credit for job readiness training classes and paid work experience. The YES program has 3 phases. Phase 1, one transition class at Sims Academy during the fall semester of senior year. Phase 2, a paid internship in the spring of senior year if the student has proven to be motivated and reliable. Phase 3, full-time job placement after graduation.
The Student Transition Enrichment Program, also known as STEP, is a full-time year-long school-to-work transition program for students with significant cognitive disabilities who have the goal of supported employment after high school. The STEP program provides supported work experiences in a variety of community business settings, as well as within Common Ground, the cafeteria, and various CTAE classrooms. It also gives students the opportunity to practice self-determination, self-advocacy, and independent living skills. This program has an application process, and students must be accepted for the IEP team to consider this service.
Sims Academy students can build a strong foundation for their culinary careers through our dual enrollment partnership with Lanier Technical College. Highly qualified instructors from Lanier Technical College teach students in the career and technical education programs available to students through Sims Academy.
The Culinary Arts program prepares students for employment within many facets of the food service industry. Students will obtain technical skills training focusing on food preparation, sanitation, nutrition, marketing, catering, management fundamentals, and work ethics.
The Prep Cook Technical Certificate of Credit provides skills for entry into the food services preparation area as a prep cook. Topics include food services history, safety and sanitation, purchasing and food control, nutrition and menu development and design, along with the principles of cooking. Students who complete the certificate are positioned to earn several additional certificates that lead to a diploma or degree in culinary arts.
Sims offers students a hands-on opportunity to learn construction, carpentry, and electrical fundamentals. The construction pathway consists of 4 courses, ranging from fundamentals in safety to carpentry and electrical skills. These courses are designed to help prepare students for careers in the construction industry, and many graduates find work in the construction industry after completing this pathway. The motto that students have in the class is that anything worth doing is worth doing right the first time.
Barrow County Newcomer Academy was established in 2017 with the purposes of supporting high school students as they transition to life in the United States. Since its inception, the Newcomer Academy has served speakers of many different languages from all around the world. Instructors work with students to develop their English and product support in their academic classes. Additionally, the Newcomer Academy serves to support students with many unique challenges of adapting to life in new culture surrounded by a new language.
Sims Academy in Barrow County offers high school students a dynamic career prep experience with dual enrollment, CTAE classes, and unique courses. Sims is a direct path to a brighter future.
I've seen extremely competitive senior classes, but I've never been able to introduce 3 STAR students. Let's get started. I've got a lot to say. Appalachia's first STAR student is Ashton Graham. I'll let you hold this when I talk about you. It's going to take a minute. Ashton is a 4-year varsity soccer player and team captain. He is president of HOSA. He is vice president of the Science National Honor Society. He's also a member of NHS, Math Honor Society, Beta, and the Student Athlete Ambassadors. He's also participated in the past in the Youth Leadership Bureau and the Chick-fil-A Leadership Academy. Since 3rd grade, He's volunteered at Special Olympics, and I'm sure he will again this year. He coaches at the Piedmont Soccer Academy, and he's just a really super kind young man. He plans to major in biology and become a doctor, and he's deciding where he'll start that journey soon. I think some scholarships are in his future. It's also really important to note that after all of that, doing all that he does, Ashton is also the 2024 valedictorian of his class. Congratulations, and it's been quite an honor to get to know you. I'm going to let you introduce your star teacher.
My star teacher that I chose, I had all the way back in 3rd grade. He was the first guy to actually challenge me in my intellect and gave me opportunity to do work for 4th, 5th grade, middle school, all the way back in 3rd grade. But it's not only that or why I chose him. The main reason I chose him was the effect he had on me and then all the other people around him outside of like a school, just academic setting. I had this one friend, I'm not going to say his name, but he was extremely smart as well. It's just he had some other things that held him back. And Mr. McCoy was the first person I saw that gave him the opportunity to showcase his knowledge in another way. And he was one of the other smartest kids at the school. So for that reason, I chose Mr. Carl McCoy as my star teacher.
Thank you, wow. I don't know what to say, but I'll say thank you to the Chamber of Commerce. It does mean a lot to be recognized. And thank you, Ashton. That was very kind of you to say. I thought I'd tell a story about Ashton from the first day of school in 3rd grade, back when, that kind of says it all about him. Everything that his principal said comes out in this story. Forgive me if I get the dates wrong, it's been a decade. But during our morning announcements, we would recognize, okay, you guys, you're graduating in what year? And they were all saying 2024. So I cracked the joke, oh, you're making me feel old. Then I put a problem on the board and I said, well, I graduated in 1988. And how many years would pass in between your graduation date and my graduation date? And the kids all puzzled. And this guy here, you have to picture an elementary school classroom 15 minutes into the first day of school. It's all about chill out, take your supplies out, it's a big mess. And this guy, he's got to solve the problem. So he tears into his pencil pack. Pencils fall all over the floor. He runs to the sharpener, he sharpens it, he solves the problem. He's raising his hand, and it looks like if I don't call on him, he's gonna burst. Okay, so I called on him, and he came up with the right answer, of course. And he said, 36 years. And one of the other students said, so does that mean you're 36? Or does that mean that you'll be 36 when we graduate? Well, thank you for that. No, for either one. And I said, well, maybe we can figure that out. And so this guy, he starts figuring it out. And I said, well, some of the other kids have obviously figured it out too. And I said, well, Ashton, pick a couple kids, be in a group with you, see if you can figure out how old I really am. So he picked 2 of his friends. And then I went on to show the other kids how to do the first problem. And when we were done, I called on Ashton and said, Ashton, how old am I? And he said, can I let him say it? And it didn't dawn on me then, but the kid that he picked was one of his friends. And this kid struggled in math, as I learned as the months went by. And he let this kid say it, and he let this kid explain it. Furthermore, while that kid explained it, he went and picked up his pencils off the floor. So it was an honor to teach you, and you left me with lots of stories like that. But that's the one that really stands out. And good luck, and you're going to make a fine gastroenterologist.
Being star teacher at Appalachia years ago was the greatest honor of my career, and so it was really exciting for me to see an elementary school teacher chosen, and Ashton was really clear about he started me off right and changed my education, so I'm really excited for the two of them. Our second star student is Nathaniel Magnuson. I'm glad he's here and on time. When we were honoring a lot of academic honors, our top 10, our star students, our Val, our Sal, we waited on him. He made a grand entrance, and that's who he is, and we love seeing him in our hallways and doing all that he does. He's an asset to Appalachia. Nathaniel was a member of the golf team for 1 year. He has played football for 4 years as a linebacker, right? All the things. He plans to receive a bachelor's in business administration from the University of North Georgia, and I think he'll do fine with that as he currently has a 3.83 GPA. Nathaniel, please introduce your star teacher. And he's struggling with his voice, so we're gonna
I'm gonna whisper for y'all today. So, I picked Miss Stephanie Atkinson because she just changed my outlook on school in general. I've always been somebody who really likes numbers, and they always click to me. But whenever I walked in her classroom from day one, she just made me love literature. She pushed me every day, and that's the reason I ended up taking the college classes I did. I ended up taking English level 1 and level 2 because of her. And I just appreciate her as much. Thank you.
I'm going to summarize. He said he always loved numbers until he was in Miss Atkinson's literature class. She taught him to love literature, and then he went on to take English 1101 and is the man he is today because of you, Miss Atkinson.
Good morning. It's unusual that he can't speak because he's always speaking, so we're finally caught up with him. Max is his nickname. Was in the 10th grade. He was a great writer. He would ask for feedback. A lot of kids get really angry when you give them constructive feedback. He'd rewrite. He was great in his writing, and we had many Socratic seminars and debates, and he would handle himself well, always. A couple times I might have to say, okay, hold on for just a second. But I will say that you were always, and you still are, the voice for the underdog. I started my day out with you, and we won't use names, as you said earlier, but we had a young man in our class that was so super intelligent, but behavior would get in the way, and he would always push him. And if he could, sometimes I think he thought I was about to tackle the kid, so he would have a stance, but he was always the voice for the underdog, and would point it out, and when we would do that, and you remember, this young man was one of the smartest kids. He would speak up and he would get involved, and you were the only person who could do that. We were speaking at the table about maybe teaching. I don't know about that, but I think you would do it and all that. And I also want to say a great support system all around from the parents. I only have sons, and you've done such a great job. He's kind, handsome, and I'm sorry, did that sound inappropriate? I'm older than his parents. Is it? Okay. There you go. But you've done a great job, and this is the beginning of some really great memories. Just hold it back a little bit. And continue asking those questions. He would ask the right questions, and I actually want to end on this. Where do you stand with Julius Caesar? With Brutus? Did Brutus do it? Did he have daddy issues, or did he do it for Rome?
I don't remember.
Congratulations. Super proud of you.
All right, everyone need coffee? Y'all got time for one more? Appalachia's third star student is Colton Whaley. So Colton has played soccer for 4 years and club soccer for 2. At the last 2 soccer games where I was freezing in so many layers, I don't think he was, and he never stopped talking to his teammates, encouraging them, telling them where to be and how to get better, but it was so positive and encouraging the whole game. So every time I was walking a lap and getting back to where he was standing, I couldn't wait to hear his encouragement of his team. He also played football his senior year. He is vice president of TSA. Colton participated in Youth Leadership Barrow, and he volunteered as a coach for 2 years and worked as a YMCA camp counselor for 2 summers. He's received the Georgia Certificate of Merit in 2023, a Scholar Athlete Award in 2023, and Student of the Month in September of 2022. Colton is in the top 10 of the senior class, and he plans to major in accounting at UGA. Go Dogs. Colton, congratulations, and please tell us also why you chose your star teacher.
Before I got in Miss Atkinson's class, I had never liked English at all. I hated it. But once I had her as a teacher, she pushed me to develop new ideas and really be able to put my words onto paper and say what I wanted to say. She really inspired me to become a better student, and with her help, I was able to now write a lot better, put everything out on paper that I want to say in ways that would not be possible without her as a teacher. Thank you.
Hello again. Huge honor. And these two have the same YouTube max. And this is Sunshine, by the way. Sunshine because, remember the Titans, right? Sunshine, so that was his nickname. Where this guy was the voice for the underdog, this young man is one of the few students in 27 years of teaching that actually listens more than he talks. And in class, when we would have debates, he would listen, and when you would raise your hand, and he would participate, but when he would raise his hand, the kids would give you more attention than they ever gave me. Number one, because you listened, but number two, because I know that your parents instilled in you kindness, and you respected others, and you listened to them, and again, you listened more than you spoke, and I always stood out. And the smile. You can't look at the smile with the laws, too. Again, great writer, but I was saying to you earlier, and again, it's been a while, but I always remembered you. I thought I remembered you having like philosophy quotes, and you would speak up, and I'm like, how old are you, 50, 55? But he would say things, especially Julius Caesar, that's my favorite. And he would make a comment and say that this philosopher said this, but truly, when I would look out at your peers, they truly were focused on you, and that's a great power that I hope you continue to use when people listen. Because I think we're in a time where we listen sometimes to the wrong people, and you had it right every single time. And your parents, great support system, kind, people love you. And he's always smiling. I've never seen you once not smile. And as I tell my students, it doesn't mean that you're not having a bad day, but you were able to come in there and turn it around if it was a bad day and be positive for everybody else. So, again, you're going to have a great college career. And I hope you continue to inspire people, because both of you, I cannot tell you, this is a colossal honor of any that I've gotten in this amount of time. I'm super proud of you. And thank you, parents. Like, these are the people that you need to talk to, but don't forget your counselors. Miss Rayburn's here this year, but she's awesome. We love her, by the way, at Appalachia. Anyway, I'll be quiet because I know y'all. I love you, young men, and I also taught Ashton. You couldn't have chosen, of course you earned this, there's not 3 better people that could be standing up here, and Appalachia should be very proud. And I'll be quiet, but congratulations.
She's absolutely right. There aren't 3 better representatives of Appalachia than these 3 young men. And I want to just state really quickly that the 3 of them chose their teachers separate from each other. They were not in the same room when they chose, and they all 3 knew immediately who they wanted to pick. They knew immediately who had had the biggest impact on their educational careers thus far. And they chose Miss Atkinson separately, which I think is a really big honor for her. And an elementary school teacher is the highlight of all of this. Thank you 3 gentlemen for being my first great 3-star students.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Eggerstead. I am a pre-K teacher at Auburn Elementary in Barrow County. So the pre-K program in Barrow County helps to prepare students for kindergarten by getting them able to socialize with others before they get ready to learn about how to read and how to function in the school system. So after our morning meeting, we will go into center time where kids will get to choose where they want to play, like in the math center, in reading center, reading books, and in block center, building things, and in home living, where it is just like a little house, and kids will get to just interact with other students. And the teachers in the classroom are basically monitoring them and helping them through their daily lives. So Barrow County Pre-K is different from other counties because we actually do school inside of a school. We are actually able to interact with other classes, other kindergartners, and they can see how other students, older students, are going to school. And they feel important because they're actually in the same building with other students that are not their age. I think that parents should enroll their kids in the Barrow County school system for pre-K because it gives the students a sense of belonging to the school that they're going to be at. And also because we love the kids and we love to be able to interact with them and get them used to going to school. So it makes a big difference in how they are able to go on to kindergarten. If you're thinking about enrolling, visit our website today.
Hey everybody, have you ever seen this book? It's a Pete the Cat book, right. Here, I'm going to sit down here with you. So this is about going to the library. Who's ever been to the library? Pete's mom is taking him to the library for the first time. The librarian gives Pete his very own library card. Cool, says Pete. The librarian smiles. Time for the tour. And this is Pete's mom. Has anybody ever seen Pete's mom before? Not me. Pete's mom was in the second Pete the Cat book about going to school. It's called Rockin' in My School Shoes. And that was the first time you saw Pete's mom. The librarian takes Pete through the library. There is a big desk where people wait to check out books. Pete sees some of his friends reading at a long table. It's very peaceful and quiet. How relaxing. Who is this cat right here, this This one, does anybody know who that is? Who is that? Thank you. Pete has a brother, right?
Yeah.
And this is Pete's brother Bob, and Bob has green eyes, and he's black and white. I have a black and white cat like this now, but it's a girl, and her name is Abby. And Abby was not happy when I left this morning. The librarian takes Pete to her favorite room. There are lots of Pete-sized chairs and tables and shelves. There are books of every shape, size, and color. So who knows who this is? Does anybody know who that is?
A frog.
Right, what's his name?
Grumpy.
Who said Grumpy? Yay, yes, it's Grumpy. And this is Owl. And who is this?
Squirrel.
Squirrel, right. And does anybody know who this girl is? Callie.
Callie.
You know Callie?
Yeah.
Yeah, Pete's friend Callie. And this is a platypus named Gus. Can you remember that? That's Gus. What do I do now, Pete asked. Now you read a book, the librarian says. Which book should I read? Asked Pete. You can read any book you like, says the librarian. Pete looks around. There are so many books. Pete picks up a book all about airplanes and jets. Who likes airplanes and jets?
I like it.
Your brother does?
Yeah.
He reads it and pretends he is a stunt pilot. He flies a super fast jet and does loop-the-loops and spirals high in the sky. Pete finds a book with dragons, wizards, and unicorns on the cover. He reads it and imagines that he is a powerful wizard using magic spells and a special wand to defend his castle against a fire-breathing dragon. So, what is a unicorn? What is it?
It's a horse.
A horse with what?
A horn.
A horn. Thank you. Very good. Next, Pete opens a book about spiders and insects. Ooh, spiders!
I love spiders.
He reads it and imagines that he is a scientist studying all types of critters in the wild. He has to be very still to study some of the critters. Who has seen a spider? Anybody? It's
I've seen lots.
You've seen lots?
I've seen lots.
Around Halloween,
Spider.
you saw 2 spiders in your house? And what about butterflies? Who knows butterflies? Then Pete chooses a book with all sorts of scary monsters on the cover. It is a book of fairy tales. Pete reads it and pretends that he is in a dark, spooky forest trying to outsmart a big bad wolf. Ooh, look at that wolf. That's a scary one. I drew that picture. Pete puts that book back on the shelf. It is too scary. Pete opens a book about the pyramids. I love the pyramids. Do you know what the pyramids are? He reads it and pretends he is an explorer riding a, what is that? Camel across the desert, right. And climbing to the top of a giant, what is that? Pyramid. Who said that? Awesome. Awesome. And okay, here's a hard question. Who is that? A lion. They call it the Sphinx. You think you can remember that? Yeah. Oh, let me show you something while I'm thinking about it. Who knows who this is? Does anybody know who this is? What's her name? This is Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa. You think you can remember that? That's Mona Lisa. This is the most famous painting in the whole world. So memorize it. Have you memorized it? Because guess what? You're going to see this again. Okay? All right, that was your art lesson for today. Next, Pete picks a book with all sorts of, what is that? Robots. Who likes robots? He reads it and imagines that he is a robot at a robot dance party. And Pete is dancing with a white cat with blue eyes. And what's her name? Callie. That's right. His arms and legs make whizzing sounds when he moves. When Robot Pete speaks, he says, what do robots say? Next, Pete picks up a book about superheroes. Who likes superheroes? Me too. I like Batman. Do you like Batman? You like Spider-Man? He reads it and makes believe that he is a superhero. He flies around the city in a colorful cape, chasing bad guys and saving the day. Then Pete spots a book about, what is that? A submarine, yes. He reads it and imagines that he is a scientist in a submarine deep in the Atlantic Ocean looking for, what is that? A whale. A whale, and what is that? Octopus. Oh my goodness. Do you know what this green thing is? Who, what? What is it? Somebody said it, jellyfish? Jellyfish? What is that? What is that? Dolphin. I love kids. There are many wonderful books to read at the library. Pete can be whatever he imagines with a book. Reading is super groovy. The end.
Appreciate it, Mr. Jennings. Thank you guys for having me. As you said, I'm Derek Maxwell, the principal at Wanderville High School. I'd like to thank Beckett for the corner investment in our students and for our meal. Thank you, Chamber, for the hospitality as always. Thank you, Master's Table, for the extra inches of my waistline that you currently provide. I have the honor of introducing the fabulous student as well as all that have gone before me, Mr. Nathaniel Coronani. If you'd come on down. First, I'd like to thank you for being just one, to keep this nice and short and sweet. And I'll say that Wanderville has, obviously, for our existence being long, probably the most of our students, but at that rate, Appalachia will be catching up pretty soon. So Nathan here is a phenomenal student. He is not one to go after all of the activities and all of the awards. He's just straight up takes care of business. Got the score, eats the breakfast, he's ready to go back and take care of business. What I have learned quickly about them is we ask students to fill out a brag sheet to help us kind of capture all the great things that they're doing. And his had a resounding theme, and it was all about him giving back. He is super involved in his church. He provides missionary services to the folks that attend. He's been to Romania on mission trips. And one of the things he was most proud of in his brag sheet, when asked about a certain prompt, the prompt was from one of his teachers, what would you do with $500,000 if you were given $500,000? Now, if you know teens or work with teens or have ever had any conversation with a teen, you can imagine all of the first things that came to everyone else's mind. But he gave 100% of his theoretical money back to people who did not have things like he did. And then he chose to be the most proud of that. So that says a lot about his character, a lot about the things that he values. And for that, you know, the SAT score is slightly better than mine by a couple hundred points. But that is something that I'm most proud of him. And so he is also, I'll let him tell you about her, but he chose one of our finest, Dr. Whitney Bailey, who's one of our high school graduate herself. Spent a little time in Kansas, clicked their heels 3 times, and came on back. So we are very honored to have him come give some words about her, and we know that Nate's going on to do great things. I think he's looking to UGA, Tech, pre-med, and sees himself studying for the MCAT, getting ready to be a doctor in 5 years. So I'm not sure where that will take him, but I know it will take him far, and I know I'm super proud of it. I know getting to spend some time with his parents are super proud of him as well. So congratulations, Nate.
Good morning, everyone. To start off, I would like to thank my parents. I probably wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for them and how much they invested in my life as a kid. Me being the first child, my dad always saw the potential in me and gave me my everything. And we were even talking about it at the table. He was saying most 4-year-olds or 5-year-olds want to become a cop or a firefighter. But I said differently. I wanted to become a doctor since day one. That ties in with Dr. Bailey. She was always an amazing teacher on my behalf. I never really wanted to know what to do in the pre-med area. There were a bunch of different paths I could have taken, anesthesiology, and many more. And to her, when I was in her class, she was able to help me pick that path I wanted to go down, and it's still gonna be anesthesiology in the end. Dr. Bailey was always there for everyone in the class. She was there for mental support if we needed it, even when I was going through a hard day. When she saw me walk into class, the first thing she would say is, "Do you want a hug?" Who would turn one down when you need one? Dr. Bailey was also very lenient on work-wise. Most students, when they hear presentations, they absolutely loathe them. They would probably run out of the class or skip it the day they have to present. But Dr. Bailey managed to make all of us love presentations in that class. In fact, anytime she asked us to do a project, she would be like, "What do y'all want to pick? Something crafty, presentations?" Everyone said presentations automatically. It was just, she was able to bring a smile to us through them, and we were able to learn a lot through them. She would let us make DIY things during that project. Like, one of my topics was music therapy that was assigned to me, and we made a DIY banjo that could actually play with rubber bands. So I wanted to thank Dr. Bailey for bringing out the most in me in that class and making my time in that class most wonderful my senior year.
Good morning. I'm going to be the teacher with notes because, as you can tell, this guy is very special. And if you know me, I tend to get emotional, so I'm going to stay on point this morning. Good morning. I know that I only have a few minutes to convey how incredibly special Nate is, but I need to give you a little context first. I got hired as a healthcare science teacher at Winder 2 years ago after Miss Bradbury, a very long time, very well-loved teacher, retired. I took her class, so I knew how great of a teacher she was. And like I tell my students, no, I'm not going to tell you what year I took her class. On the very first day that Nate walked in, he sat down, he looked at his table partner, and he said, "I'm worried. She's not going to be anything like Miss Bradbury." I heard it. I immediately became apprehensive because I knew that I had really big shoes to fill. I took the job knowing that, but it comes to life a little different when the students in the chairs make the statement. I gave my traditional first day of class, "I'm not Mrs. Bradbury" speech, and I asked the students what I always ask, to give me a chance to make learning fun. And boy, did Nate give me a chance. He was the first one every morning to tell me good morning, usually with that big smile plastered across his face, and he was always the student at the end of the day to tell me to have a great day. Nate is easily one of the most intelligent students I've ever had the pleasure of teaching, and I was a college professor in my previous life. He jumped into every activity and every presentation with excitement and without hesitation. He is as social as he is smart. He made friends with his classmates very easily. He always had a word for someone who was struggling, always there as a smile and a sense of encouragement. He's funny. He constantly had me laughing from some joke early in the morning. When I got the news in the middle of first period that I had a family member pass away, Nate was able to show concern and sympathy that you don't easily find in a high school student. He is one of the most well-rounded students I've ever had the pleasure to teach and to get to know.
At this time, we got a few things to vote on. The first thing, can I get a motion to approve the contract list as presented? Ms. Stevens and Ms. Maloof, all in favor? Motion passes. Next, can I get a motion to approve the personnel report as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Kane, Ms. Hendricks, all in favor? Motion passes. And then lastly, the superintendent recommends authorizing the purchase of 2,000 Dell Chromebooks from low-cost respondent Dell of Round Rock, Texas, in the amount of $396.02 per device, for a total of $792,040. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second. Or whatever.
Ms. Kelly, Ms. Maloof, all in favor? Motion passes. If you will notice our next meeting dates, tomorrow we will meet for our last round of first round interviews. It'll be a full day. Make sure we are there by 8:15, and we should finish up around 3:34.
Mr. Chairman, before you dismiss us, I talked with Mr. Ayers about the questions I had about that cost.
Right.
And he got my questions answered, so I'm okay to put it on the consent agenda if you want to do that.
Is everyone else fine with putting that one line item regarding the live view that Mr. Ayers presented onto the consent agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
All righty, we'll add that one to the consent as well. If there's nothing else to discuss, we're adjourned.